All right, everyone, this story is actually from a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't see it until now. I was looking through some of the news sites and just sort of going back through to see, what should I talk about tomorrow. And I happened to be looking up Clinton because, sometimes Hillary Clinton says off-the-wall shit or Bubba Bill, attacks somebody in a dark alleyway, and it's very, very sad. But I saw one story and I'm like, oh... I got a real big kick out of this because it's a microcosm of how dumb the Democratic Party has become. I mean, just because as a nonpartisan, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a super fan of Trump or anything, but my God, how can the Democrats become so dumb? It's like watching in California where they say, oh, Feinstein, who served the country, supposed poorly, for like, fucking 30 years, we're just going to abandon her for a newcomer and not give her our endorsement, even though she's guaranteed to win anyway, so she's going to be pissed off at our entire California DNC structure and never give us the time of day again. What a great idea. Let's cut off our own heads. In Arkansas, the party there, the Arkansas Democrats, they had apparently sort of a yearly get-together, and they called it the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, named after, of course, Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson. They're like, we're celebrating these Democrats, or, essentially Democrat in Thomas Jefferson's case. We're celebrating these presidents, and it's, basically a festival of being Democrats. Now, I think that it would be better if you were celebrating more authentic Democrats, like, in the Crookshank days of Jim Crow, because that's basically what your party is devolving towards now, too. But that's just me. They decided to rename it. Guess who they named it after? Bill Clinton. So in the Me Too era, you think it's a good idea to say, well, screw Thomas Jefferson, because, that was a long time ago. And Andrew Jackson was like a bigot or something, so, you can't have him on. Even though he fought alongside freed slaves and fucking pirates, so, he was a cool dude. The cheese wheel incident apparently involving Andrew Jackson is my favorite story. Apparently someone gave him like a ton of cheese, and he had it in one of the back rooms, and it started to like stink. Because it's like, who can eat 1,000 pounds of cheese? And his wife complained finally enough, so he said, fuck it. And he invited everyone from the lower class in around the D.C. area. Hey, come and eat the cheese, because we need to get rid of it. And apparently, you can still smell it now in one of these rooms. Like, it was that pungent, and it was there for long enough, it literally soaked into the underlying structure of the room. And so until they, strip it all out, it's going to smell a little bit cheesy in there. So you can still smell what Andrew Jackson's rancid cheese smells like. So I like that story. I like cheese, so, it makes sense. You're saying to me that Bill Clinton is better than Andrew Jackson and Thomas Jefferson for the purposes of your fundraising dinner every year. I think that's so funny to me. Bill Clinton is no longer even readily liked by the uprising sort of actual leftist Democrats. Now, I think that a lot of these people are fanatics, but they're right about Bill Clinton. Again, if you're going to crucify people for mere allegations without any actual evidence, why not Bill Clinton? And we know that he, at the very least, fucked one of his employees. It's a lopsided situation. Generally speaking, it's frowned upon for bosses to have sex with their underlings. It's just generally frowned upon. Even if it's consensual, they're all adults and stuff. The general concept is that it's an inappropriate relationship. Now, I'm not, morally outraged by him and Lewinsky. It's like it's Bill being Bill, and at least it was consensual. But the thing is, there are also half a dozen tales where it wasn't consensual. And so you think that being contemporary. With Bubba Bill now older, he's less popular than he was 10 years ago. In the greatness rankings, he fell 9 slots in a single year. That's, despite the fact that I don't trust the political scientists to be objective because they have Trump dead last, and I think that's laughable. Yeah, he's worse than W, who killed 250,000 people or some crazy numbers. He's worse than Fillmore. He's worse than that dude who served for, less than a year. Doesn't make any sense at all. Yes, he's worse than Alien and Sedition Act mode. Trump is absolutely the worst. No, he's not. But there is something to be said when the former, golden boy poster child of the Democratic Party suddenly finds himself knocked out of the top quarter. It is significant. It's significant because they used to love Bubba Bill and fawn over him. Oh, his economic proposals are so great. He showed such leadership in Serbia and with Kosovo and stuff. And it's a lot of that's just a mythology. What actually happened is the Cold War happened to end, and he reaped the benefits of increased diplomacy and the general prevailing feeling that the world finally was safe and we had emerged from what amounted to a modern dark age. Clinton got credit for that without doing much of anything to actually cause that. Actually, the only thing he caused was the rampant speculation that caused the dot-com bubble collapse. Then later on, I think, wasn't that in 2000? Like, that was the first year of W. He gets dumped on. It's actually funny because W never blamed his predecessors for the shitty situation he technically did inherit because he couldn't himself cause it. Here's the thing, though. Bubba Bill is allegedly, and we got to say allegedly, we can't crucify him even if we speculate that it's sensible to proclaim it to be true. Based on his patterns of behavior, it is sensible to suggest that Bubba Bill is a pervert. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I know that he is. No, allegedly he's a rapist, though. Allegedly he sexually assaults people. Allegedly he does all sorts of inappropriate things. And he certainly, allegedly also, the Clintons were involved top to bottom. And so, look at the pardons that they issued in the last few days of his presidency. Oh yeah, those people just happened to heavily donate to the Clinton Foundation and to her election campaign in the Senate and to her run for president twice. They financed her to the tune of tens of millions of dollars after being pardoned or having people close to them being pardoned. To the point where it was heavily investigated, and they're like, well, it's really, really dubious, but no constitutional authority technically was overstepped, even if there was a quid pro quo involved. It's like, once they're pardoned, they can donate to the Clintons. It's not technically illegal. It's just kind of obvious that there was a quid pro quo there. It's kind of obvious what happened, but technically, kind of, sort of, it's not fully illegal, and we can't really prosecute it. It's like the funniest thing ever. They made tens of millions of dollars pardoning people. Absolutely they did. Including people that were terrorists and literal criminals, people in cartels. We're talking like the John Gotti sort of crowd, among which he was like, you know, maybe the least vicious among the people that sort of gravitated around this cesspool of the Clintons. They pardoned a bunch of, there's Travelgate, it's basically, oh, they rack up a bunch of travel expenses. There were the tales that Hillary Clinton was trying to take some of the cutlery and shit from the White House when they left. Basically stripped the place down. I think she ended up trying to do so and got sort of caught out and was reminded gently, oh, you can't do that, Miss Clinton. These are the people's pieces of cutlery, not technically yours, because you didn't buy them. It's just the funniest shit ever. They ran the most corrupt White House in history. No, I really mean that. I mean, they weren't Bubba Bill wasn't the worst president in history. No, W's certainly worse. There have been others, but they were the most corrupt. Absolutely. Behind the scenes, it was a criminal enterprise. Wasn't Clinton one of Clinton's relatives, like basically living in the White House for an extended period? You know, the drunken Clinton or something? Can't remember his name. You know, the less talented Clinton, and sort of schmoozing off of them, I guess, sort of just eating the fucking food, and he stayed in one of the guest rooms and, you know, just sort of, I don't know, probably played Super Mario for the entire presidency. That's how the Clintons operated. The Democrats there in Arkansas are insane to put Bill Clinton's name on their little funding dinner. They're insane to do that. Look, Jefferson, it's like, who has a problem with Thomas Jefferson? Some social justice warriors talk about how he had an apparently consensual romantic relationship with one of his slaves that, kind of at that point probably wasn't a slave so much as a concubine. They have a huge problem with that several hundred years ago. They have a problem with Andrew Jackson, a fucking actual war hero, unlike John McCain. But they don't have any problem with Me Too Bill Clinton with his gropiness. It's like Anthony Bourdain, mysteriously, right before he killed himself, had come out apparently and talked about how Bill Clinton was gropey and rapey and he thought he was a scumbag. And also, separate story, no link because the Daily Mail doesn't allow you to use archival sites. Screw them, by the way. I'm boycotting the Daily Mail. Fuck them because of this. Hillary Clinton, there's a picture now that they released of her dining with Weinstein less than a week after her election defeat. Isn't that very funny how close they were to Weinstein? It's like, I've been crushed. I was almost president. I got schlonged again. Who am I going to dine with at a five-star hotel or fucking whatever? I'm Harvey Weinstein. That really good look, Hillary. What were you doing? How much money were you was trading hands during that meeting? How much was promised and to whom, I wonder? Yeah, it seems like Bourdain dies. Weinstein will probably kill himself at some point. It'll be one of those cases where he manages to blow his own head off 3 or 4 times. No further investigation. They'll just cremate the body and bury all the evidence. It'll be very funny. That's about all. Peace out.